All right, well, we're live. So,
All right.
I
Back
guess
in the
we're,
saddle.
yeah, huh?
Back in the saddle.
Yeah, back in the saddle. It's been a whole 24 hours or so.
Right?
Well, we're not supposed to tip that off to everybody.
You want me to start over again?
No, fuck it. They'll enjoy that we're fucking clowns like that.
Two kind of problems in this world, Dale.
I changed clothes so nobody would notice.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck anyway. It's not like anybody's
Yeah.
gonna watch the goddamn thing anyway.
Honestly, I think
Right.
John's
The
been
three
wearing
people that
shit
do
since we
see it
started.
probably know us and don't give a fuck.
Right. Oh shit.
They're gonna
Oh,
be like,
man.
they put that fucking monkey in charge of it. So what do you expect? They're probably just
happens.
glad we're not pooping in our hand and flinging it at the camera, you know?
Oh,
I was gonna
well,
say who's the monkey?
we got 15 minutes to kill now.
This guy.
Oh, you're the silverback.
Oh, you just assumed I was talking about you because of your preference to racial.
Well,
discrepancies,
I know you're hardcore racist like that.
but, my dad, who was also our clan leader, once told me that.
You couldn't even hold a straight face for more than 5 seconds, could you?
What was that monkey jumper? What was that the other night, Booger?
Whoa.
Oh,
What?
you
How'd
weren't
I get
there.
drug
Never
into
mind.
this?
Oh my God, never mind. So
Holy shit! Which conversation you having?
I thought that was a conversation. Yeah, because I put it on my son and I were reading that shit on, and I put it on TikTok. I was like, can you believe this? Remember the guy that said the woman was tainted because he'd been with a black dude and had like a mixed kid, and the guy was like, I thought it was a joke, and the more I kept reading, the more I came to the realization this cat was serious.
Oh yeah.
He was like, this woman is now tainted. I would never go with a monkey jumper or what. I don't even remember what he said now, but
man.
I was reading it thinking it was, it was satirical, but it wasn't. Like, this dude was legit. Like he was like, burn that bitch at the stake. I can't believe she veered outside of her race. Like,
she turned me into a newt.
Yeah, well, I got that.
Well, it's not like the guy had to worry. It's not like the baby daddy was going to be back.
Yeah, I mean, what do you care? You're getting child support.
Damn.
I saw a fucking TikTok this morning where this cat was on at the judge, and the judge was like, "So you spent 5 years in prison for not paying your child support?" He said, "Yes, ma'am." And the judge said, "Well, the baby's not yours. The DNA came back, and it's not yours." So this guy was put in prison for 5 years for failing to pay child support on a child that wasn't his.
They never
shit.
did a DNA test
then
before putting him in prison?
No, apparently not. So then they look at the mother, and she said something like, "Do you know who the father is?" And the mother said, "Yeah, I still talk to him." And the dude's like, "Is this not a fucking crime?" Like,
Yeah,
how is she not in jail? She put me in fucking prison knowing she
Yeah.
just literally admitted that she knew that he wasn't a father. And she's like, "Well, I didn't do nothing wrong."
Sure.
I was like, "Bitch, somebody needs to hit you with a fucking chair in the face
Yeah.
like 12 times or more."
That was wild.
I think that guy has a psychological out in the court of law if he murders her.
Yeah, not just murders her. Like, he could eat part of her and like cut her up into pieces and like wear her as a fucking hat and probably still get away with it. You know what I mean?
Right? I mean,
they're like, yeah, we get
5
it.
years.
Yeah, we get it.
Holy
Yeah, it's cool. It's no big deal.
Just don't let that happen again.
Yeah, don't do it again.
That's your free pass.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that guy did 5 years, right? But there are pedophiles doing less time.
Oh yeah,
out there.
No, I get it. It's
And
all
you're just
fun.
like,
so
that's why I'm like the way our DOJ is going right now, the return to street justice is near.
Oh, it's inevitable. Have you seen all the shit that's going on? I mean,
Yeah.
like, I literally saw a video today where this cat, where they were wanting to send, they're not going to send cops in anymore. They're going to send in social workers. And so this guy goes somewhere in Detroit, and there's like 10 black kids just jump him and beat the shit out of him on the sidewalk, like kicking him, like dog stomping him, like just I'm like, well, there
I'm
you
here
go.
in peace.
I mean, who the fuck? What kind of asshole reads an ad in the paper and decides to go take that job? Like, are you that fucking desperate?
No, you know who the person is it's the same kind of person that I remember listening to Dinesh D'Souza once, and he was talking about when he started going to college in America, and he was going to these parties, and people were like, "Oh, you're from India? That's so cool." And he's like
I thought he
looking
was
at him like,
Mexican.
no, he's Indian.
I was kidding, dude.
Oh, okay.
That was an all brown people look alike thing. I'm trying to give you some material here, and you're not working with me.
Well, I wasn't looking at the cues on the of your face. I'll
You
stare at my
started this
screen
out
every
with me
once.
being a racist. I got to continue that.
Oh well, okay.
Anyway.
So you thought he was Mexican? Aha, he was brown. Okay, got it. Moving on. Now you're gonna be like an asshole.
You see what he just did right there?
He belittled you.
Yeah, that's called diversion. He's trying to put his racial shit on me because he's really the racist. He's so racist, he married a black woman to prove that he wasn't racist.
Still didn't work.
Anyway, your story.
So, anyways, he's sitting at this college party, looking at this person like they got a dick growing out of their forehead, and he goes, "What's so cool about being from India?" And he's like, "Oh, the culture, this and that." And he's like, "Have you ever been there?" And they're like, "No, I've read about it." And he's like, "Well, reading about it and being there are very two different things, and you should go before you say how cool it is." And that's the thing that people don't get. It's like, just because it sounds exotic, just because you read academically about something and maybe the history of the country, it's like, doesn't make it automatically a good thing. Doesn't make it automatically like a cool thing. And you got and that's the kind of dickhead who reads about this. He's an academic, went through all this social services training in school, and it is like, I can go take care of what the cops can't. And then he gets there and like, oh, reality hits him in the fucking face. That's who that kind of dickhead is right there.
That's like those fucking cunts going, well, we're going to go hiking in Pakistan.
You can do that once.
Yeah. And then they're like, come save us, Superman. I don't know if you can hear me, but, it's like.
Whoops.
So this Superman's like, should have read the Department of State's file on it first, motherfucker.
Yeah.
We're going hiking in North Korea. What can go wrong?
Right.
We'll take in some Christian pamphlets too. Just,
Yeah. Just install cable.
Yeah, I literally just watched a video one of the guys shared on another thread. And this guy's in the waters off of Egypt and gets attacked by a shark. And yeah, he dies from it. I mean, you basically watch him on film getting eaten, and it was almost like I got something out of the movie, because you see him kind of struggling at first. You don't really know what's going on. And then you see like this other body, like kind of surface a little bit and then come down. And, he's like, oh God. And all of a sudden you just see like this flash of red, water just kind of chumming up. And you're like, that looks like some shit right out of the movie. But oh yeah, it was real as hell, man. Then he.
Did you hear about that? Did you hear about that kid that jumped off the cruise ship?
No.
Yeah, I guess it was like a fucking dare.
Oh Jesus!
And like they're videoing the shit, and he jumps off the cruise ship, and he's like floating next to the cruise ship, and they're like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. Bye. You know what the cruise ship dumps in the water, right?
Yeah.
You know what trails along behind the cruise ship, right? Like there are fish eating all the food scraps, and you know what eats the fish,
Yeah.
Wow. It's lucky he didn't get sucked up into the props.
Yeah, that's one of those fucking Darwin Awards, man. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
posthumously.
Yeah, well, they usually are. Jinx.
Yeah.
So
that show that used to come on late at night, 1,000 Ways to Die.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I was reading an article about that thing you sent out about that fucking fag dude, that Dylan Mulvaney guy.
Oh God, yeah.
And apparently, I think that was satirical. I don't think that was legitimate. somebody put on there that he was going to blackmail Oreos into paying him like 40 grand, or he was going to start saying he was doing something for them or something like that to crash their stock.
Yeah, that was
Apparently it was
satire.
satirical. Somebody was doing it just to be funny.
Yeah.
He did come out though and say that he likes chicks now.
Wait,
Oh,
what?
that he thought he might like chicks.
Yeah.
He said he thinks he might like chicks.
Yeah.
And it's
So
this
got the
motherfucker.
attention that he wants. Now wants to go back to being a dude and be like, oh no,
You've
no.
had your time in the sun.
He could do whatever he wants to do. He's never going to be a dude.
No, well, the thing is, he keeps doing woman face. That's the thing is that,
Yeah,
and he
he's a
uses,
woman.
yeah, but worse, he keeps using language like girl, like this is my 365th day of girlhood, and that's what's got everybody pissed
Yeah.
off.
Well, it's not just that, but like I said, it's the ideology. If you want to be a transvestite or whatever, transgender,
Tranny, I mean
you wanna be
the
a
whole
fucking tranny,
spectrum.
be whatever you want to be. I don't give a fuck. If you want to be gay, be gay. If you want to be a fucking muzzy, stay on your side of the room. But I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I just don't give a fuck. Most of us don't. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but the thing is to me, like, you're talking about adolescent children who we all have children.
Yeah.
I've watched my children, male and female children, struggle with their identity as children.
Yeah.
Their adolescents, struggling to find out who they are, to try and fit into some social group, trying to find their own identity of who they are. And it's a very, very difficult process. And I'm terrible with that. Even though I've got a master's degree in psychology, I'm terrible with that shit.
Yeah.
And I blame people like you for corrupting me, because I used to be a much nicer person. Having said that, though, some of the fault lies with Jesus, not just with you. But I mean, it's all joking aside. Like, I've watched my kids struggle with this shit, and then imagine having a parent who's some liberal fucking douchebag who was educated in some liberal fucking douchery, by the Browns and the Berkeleys and all that fucking shit, where everybody's right is valuable. Everybody's opinion is everybody's a goddamn beautiful, rare flower. You know what I mean? Imagine all that shit. And then having those weak ass parents start telling you, well, maybe you're in the wrong body.
Yeah.
And then so now instead of reaffirming positive choices, you're simply complying with their latest fucking request. You're taking somebody whose decision-making ability centers around what superhero is going to be on their fucking underwear, and you're expecting them to make a rational decision about something as critical and integral as their identity.
Mm-hmm.
That's just fucking ludicrous to me. We don't let people vote until they're 18. Why? Because they're too fucking emotional. They can't make decisions. We don't let people buy beer until they're 21. We don't let them buy cigarettes until they're 18 or 21, whatever it is now. They can't even join the fucking military. Why in the fuck are we letting kids decide something as critical as having gender affirming surgery and taking hormones that'll alter them for the rest of their life? Now, if you get to be 18, 19 years old and you're stuck on that, fucking knock yourself out, bro.
Yeah.
But no one should be making that decision or having it made for them until they're of age to be able to make that rational decision. It doesn't make any fucking sense to me.
Well, and it really does beg the question where that level of rationality kicks in at. Because I remember when I was a young guy, before I got married, my dad said, the best advice I could probably give you is don't get married till you're 30. Now, I thought that sounded ridiculous at the time, because
makes perfect
think about
sense now, doesn't it?
Well, shit, especially when you're 51 years old. Now, granted, I love my wife, and we've been married for 31 years now, and sure, we got married a month before I turned 20. Yeah, so
I was kidding.
Yeah, Kevin Yeager actually asked, when the fuck did you get married? When you were 10? But at any rate, we lucked out. We fought.
Isn't that the guy that like wound up banging dudes or something?
No.
I know, I'm fucking with you. I don't like him. He's a cunt.
You're thinking of James Yeager.
No, I'm thinking of Kevin. He's a piece of shit too.
No,
Ass little Air Force bitch. But keep going.
he's a Marine. Are we thinking
Wait
about
a
the
minute.
same
Which one was Kevin Yeager?
He was kind of tall. He was about 6 foot, 6'1". He had some muscle, but I want to say he was an airman in the Marine Corps. Like he worked the helos or something like that. But he was one of the team leaders for the MRAP team before you got down there.
Yeah. No, he was there when I got there.
Okay.
He was there when I got there. Attitude, just a fucking whiny little bitch. But go ahead. Anyway.
All right. But at any rate, me and my wife actually fought, the statistics of not getting divorced. I mean, it was rough because not only, were we both in the military and both very young, but then, we came from very different backgrounds. Not of course, her being black, me being white. Her being raised in California and me being raised in Kansas. So, a lot of differences there that we were in an uphill battle. And, quite honestly, everybody's like, oh, what's your secret? What's your secret? And I said, stubbornness, pure fucking unadulterated stubbornness. Because we honestly wouldn't have lasted to a point where we could have a good relationship and gone through counseling had we not been stubborn in the beginning. I mean, yeah, there was passion, and all the great things, in the early stages relationship. But then there was a lot of rough spots, and so, yeah, I mean, I think about it now, I'm like, yeah, you probably shouldn't get married till you're like 25, 30 years old. And 25 is usually like a good age that doctors say where the brain is fully developed and matured.
Yeah, I think it's like 24, 25, somewhere in the neighborhood.
Something like that. Now, granted, I don't want voting and weapons owning to happen until 25. I mean, I think 18 is a reasonable age for those. But that said, there are some things I would recommend to my kids, like, for some major things, I would seriously consider waiting till you're at least 25, if not 30.
I always tell people, I always say that relationships, I don't want to get off topic, but I want to say this because I think it's important for people to hear. I think relationships are like, imagine Lady Justice, standing there holding the scales. And on one side, you've got something, positive and negative, let's just say. So when you meet someone, you're on your best behavior. So are they. So everything gets piled on the positive side. And every interaction that you have is positive. So everything piles on that positive side and you fall in love with somebody. Well, the more time goes on, now suddenly she farts in her sleep. And there's something on the negative side. Maybe she doesn't brush her teeth fast enough. There's something on the negative side. You know what I mean? And the more time goes on, you start piling more shit on there. The trick to any relationship, I don't give a fuck who it is, what it is there has to be that balance. There has to be more good than bad if you want to survive, and more bad than good if you don't. And the moment you stop taking the time to put the good shit on the scale, the bad shit's going to take over. And then it's going to be fighting over petty shit, fighting over stupid shit instead of important shit. I've gotten lucky in my adult life because my wife is a fairly intelligent woman, and she recognizes the gift that God has given her in me. And I think that helps, a lot. The fact that also that I'm really easy to get along with, this though.
Yeah.
No, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, all bullshit aside, like, you got to take time to put some good shit on the good side, because if you don't, man, it'll go to fucking shit on you. And love, I'm not a believer in this whole one person magic love, all that bullshit. No, I think anybody can fall in love with someone if the relationship's treated properly. And if you want someone to fall in love with you, you got to treat them right, and then they got to treat you right. And there has to be that symbiotic relationship in order for it to be successful. So congratulations for that. But no, I agree with you. I don't think we need to bump everything up to a 25-year-old, but I do think that concessions need to be made. And I cannot for the life of me understand why people, when we were young, there was no internet, at least
Right.
not on the scale that we understand it now. And there was no social media outlets, and there wasn't all these things. And you know, times change, and I'm aware of that, and I'm accepting of that. But when we were younger, fruitcakes had to stay in a fucking basement. If you were a pedophile, you hid that shit.
Oh yeah.
If you were a rapist, you hid that shit. Now these
Yeah.
motherfuckers got clubs online trying to convince
Yeah.
people it's okay to fall in love with a young boy.
Yeah.
There's nothing
Right.
wrong between a man and a boy falling in love. You know what I mean? And if that's so goddamn sick, if you're going to tell me that a child isn't, you know, when these teachers have sex with these kids in school, oh, hang that bitch. She did something wrong. That kid was too young. 16, 17-year-old kid's too young to fuck his teacher. But an 8-year-old can tell you he wants to cut his wiener off and you're okay with that.
Right.
Where's your fucking head? You got it so far up your ass. Like, I just don't understand that fucking rationale, man. It doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, you want to chug cock, knock yourself out. I don't give a fuck. You ain't hurting me. There's nothing you can do to make me gay. You can't infect me with queer. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
Well, you know, the thing is, you've now got some of these leftists that are just as okay with the kid fucking his teacher at any age as they are with lopping off the wiener or whatever other weird bents. Now, those are what I call the believers. Those are the people that they believe in the cause. They follow the cult. The cult leader, like every cult leader, they're just doing it to tear down a system. They're doing it to wave their big middle fingers in everyone else's face, saying, "Yeah, that safe and secure life that you were looking for, we're gonna fuck it over." And all I got to say to these the ones who are the believers is like, okay, you keep believing that shit, and I want to see how you feel when it happens to your kid.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is why are we doing Pride Month for gay people? We
A
don't
whole
do that
month,
for
right?
straight people.
Right?
No one runs around with signs up that says I'm straight. We don't
Right.
have fucking marches in the Capitol for straight people. Well, gay people need to have rights too. What rights do you not have?
Yeah, you got all the rights now.
I mean, what can you? I had that conversation with someone the other day. He was a very good friend of mine. We grew up together, and he's pretty left leaning, and genuinely we don't talk about politics too much. I consider myself sort of a middle of the road kind of guy. I can, again, like I said in our last show, you know, I can see the value in inherent in some social programs, and I can also see the value of conservatism. But what was so amazing to me is when we had our last conversation, and we were talking, and just the amount of like literal, how do you think that way? I don't understand that. I just don't understand. You know, what rights do you not have? So we were talking, and he said, I said, I don't understand this whole idea of reparations and this whole idea of systemic racism. Everybody keeps saying systemic racism. Where in the system is it inherently disadvantaged toward black people? Point to me one law that I can go do that you can't. You know what I mean? I understand. I'm not saying I don't see that racism caused a disparity.
Right.
I agree with that, 100%. But we've had a black president, black
Right.
vice president, black leaders of state. I mean, some of the most richest people in the world are black. Like,
Oh yeah.
and here's the
As a
part.
matter of fact, in America,
Yeah,
we have the highest number of wealthy millionaire and billionaire black people than any other single country.
well, and that's what I was
has
going
this.
to say is everybody wants to claim African American. Y'all
Mhm.
motherfuckers ever been to Africa?
Yeah.
Because they fucking hate you.
Yeah.
The people in Africa, you worked with them, I worked with them. We worked with Yugs, we worked with Kenyans, we worked with all that shit. They fucking
Yeah, they just take advantage of the black Americans.
They hate
Yeah,
Americans, black Americans. They fucking think that they're spoiled, whiny bitches. You
yeah.
know, Chris Rock said
Or-
it best, you know, nobody in Rwanda's got a fucking lactose intolerance. You know what I mean? You get a
Right.
fucking pork chop, you eat the motherfucker. You don't whine about it.
Right.
And I'm not saying that there's no disadvantage to being black, because you and I both know that a cop's going to treat a black man differently than he's going to treat me. Does that mean the
And-
cop's shooting through the fucking window? No. But you and I both know why profiling is effective. Now,
Well-
profiling may cause some negative consequences also, but we all profile people. People
Yeah.
look at me and assume that I lift weights. That's profiling. But you know
No,
what I'm saying? Like,
profiling is that you're probably a mean barroom brawler. That would be more akin to profiling, which they're not totally inaccurate on.
when have I ever been mean? I need one example in writing, and it needs to be signed by a power of attorney.
Well, you got me there. You got me in
Actually,
a
I meant to
box
say
on that.
notary. That made no sense at all.
I was like, what?
But no, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, to me, I don't have a problem with you being transgender. I
No.
don't care. I have a problem with you wanting to shove it in my fucking face, because I don't walk around with my dick out saying I like women,
Right?
and I don't want to see you prancing around in a fucking bikini with your shit tucked back. I find you disgusting. Not
well,
you as a person, but your behavior. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Just like I find that
there's no decorum.
These guys running into these stores and stealing all that shit. I find that disgusting. It's terrible. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
And it's so funny how they all think like this is some kind of new thing. And I'm like, have you guys ever heard Lola by the Kinks? Because that's a pretty old song by now. You know, and just saying.
Club down in Rochelle.
Yep. Oh yeah. So yeah, I mean, between that, it's so funny because you know, this is honestly, all this stuff is really hurting what the pure idea of acceptance movement was about. You know, acceptance is one thing. Like, hey, you know what? There should be no gay bashing. I agree with that. Just beating up on somebody because of their preferences or choices or whatever. I'm not down with that.
Anymore.
You know, I have never gay bashed.
I'm just fucking with you.
I am trying to figure out if I've done a hate crime or not. There might have been a couple times in some overseas places. I don't know.
I know I'm not gay. I fucked the dude. I didn't like it.
I'll try better next time.
Third time's a charm, right, Bug?
Yeah.
That's the part I
angry.
don't get. Like, leave the kids alone. After you're
That's the
18,
biggest
do
thing.
whatever the fuck you want to do. But you running around trying to shove it down people's throat is just causing more of a rift.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just causing more of a fucking rift. I just don't get it. And even like you said, even the trans people, even the genuine trans people, are like standing back, like, I wish these motherfuckers would go away. You know what I mean? Like, all they're doing is causing fucking problems.
Well, and especially like it's one thing for an adult to try the trans movement because one, at least they were fully developed. Two, you know, yeah, you might end up making some choices that you can't undo, but at least you were a fully grown adult and give it a chance to, you know. But you're seeing a lot of these people detransition, especially after they get some psychological help. And you know, like the guy, what's his name? Chris something. He was the Navy SEAL that went trans. I met him. I met him at SHOT Show. He came out to one of the parties, and it was funny.
You hear this, Bugs?
It was the Ranger Up.
It's all
party.
coming together.
Yeah, it's all starting to make sense now. That's
It
why it was
was-
a $1,000 credit card bill to 7-Eleven at 3 a.m.
No, it's funny. We were at the Ranger Up party. It was at the Paris Hotel, and I'm standing there with two other dudes. One was a dark green Marine, 6'3", 230 pounds of muscle, and he
So a little
he looks, he looks over and he's like, man, that's an ugly bitch over there. And my other boy, he was he's 6'2" Ranger medic. He looks over and he goes, oh God, yeah. And I looked and I see the little trident on the purse strap, and I was like, dude, do you know what the fuck that is? And they're like, no, some ugly bitch. That's all I know. I'm like, that's that fucking tranny SEAL, man. And they're like, what? And I said, I'm gonna go say hi. So I go over.
And I go,
Jumped on that one.
I go over and I said, hey, welcome to the party. And he's like, oh, thank you very much. I'm shaking his hand. As soon as he goes, oh, thank you very much, I'm like, don't laugh, don't fucking laugh, because I'm shaking the hand and I can feel the number of kills in that motherfucker's hands. Like I could just feel it. And I was like, don't laugh, don't fucking laugh, And but yeah, I mean, guy, he totally detransitioned now.
You made him wear a condom, right?
Oh boy!
They call it bang cock, not bang pussy.
It never.
I don't even know if he's actually in the guys or what. I don't know what his deal is there. But
I don't know.
Yeah,
man. Like I said, I got no problem with anybody being a transvestite or transgender, whatever you want to call it. Is that even a fucking term nowadays? I don't know. Transvestite, is that still a thing? We're not supposed to use it? I don't fucking know.
Technically, transvestite just means you like to dress in other, the opposite sex's clothing. And that's all.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I think I'd know that shit.
Because vestite
is around with a lot of trans testicles.
So. It's rooted in vestiments, so apparently, transvestite.
He also has a lot of innate knowledge on the subject too, don't you think, bud?
Yeah, quite a bit.
I analyze language, asshole. That's all I do.
And you fuck titties.
You know what?
How many vertebrae does a cat have?
I'm gonna fuck you and make a point.
How many vertebrae does a cat have, Dad?
I don't know. Probably the same as us. 12.
You don't know a lot about pussy, do you?
Oh. 12 vertebrae, motherfucker. 12 vertebrae. How about that?
So I'm sticking to it.
We probably just need to start this whole fucking thing over again.
I know this is a total shit show.
Yeah, just wipe this motherfucker. We'll try again tomorrow.
This motherfucker will be the one that gets the most views. People are like, did you see that train wreck of a podcast? These motherfuckers were all over the place.
Yeah, it's already gone.
Dale's a trans lover and apparently likes black chicks too. Something like that. I don't know.
Well, but that's the thing, man. Like with us, it's just like there's literally nothing you can say.
No.
That's out of fucking. I mean, you can obviously, but you know what I mean. Like, I mean, we talk to each other this way. That's how we communicate. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't do that shit with regular people. Like every time I go to the fucking store to get gas and they're like looking at me, I'm like, what the fuck are you looking at? And they get all hurt. And I'm like, y'all would be like, you motherfucker. You know what I mean?
Right. That's the thing. If you wear your feelings on your sleeves, man, they're just, they're up for the pickings anytime people want to. And I just do not like giving people control over me.
That's the same thing my daughter and I talked about the other day. And I said, here's the thing. No one can make you feel anything. No one has the power to make you sad or to make you happy or to make you anything. No one has the power to do that. Your response is yours. You can get angry or you can be okay with it, or you can be sad or you can be upset, but it's totally your choice. Sometimes that takes a great deal of training, and it may take a great deal of understanding, and it may take a lot of work to get to that point. But we didn't come out of the womb this way. No. I mean, we may have been born with a higher testosterone level than the average person. Shit like that. But we weren't assholes to begin with. You know what I mean? We grew into this camaraderie through repeated exposure to the same sort of behavior over and over again. And so now that's just how we play. That's just how we interact. That's good banter for all of us. to fuck with each other. And people don't know this because they don't see our text. But we do this shit all day long.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
We don't even say the bad shit on here. Yeah. You
Oh, God.
like,
Yeah.
this is throttled
This is
the fuck back.
tame.
Yeah,
We're,
this
we're
is
trying to make
tame.
sure how not to be
So,
charged
yeah,
for
I
a
mean,
hate
I just-
crime for
I
our
just think-
podcast.
I just think I still go back to the old saying, weak men, soft men, man, soft men, hard times. That's where we're at.
Yeah.
We're in the time of soft men and hard times, and it's going to take something. It's going to take another World War I to get us out of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it's literally going to take something that catastrophic to rally all the forces again. You know what I mean? Because, like I told people before, you may think you hate the government, but if you'd have been here the day after Pearl Harbor, or if you'd have been alive the day after the towers fell, there wasn't a goddamn person in this country that wasn't ready for blood.
Right.
For
You know what
sure.
I mean? Every fucking body was like, go over there and kill them. And then
Everybody had flags up.
They're like, what the fuck are y'all doing over there killing them? Like, what's wrong with you?
I know. And
on
on that note, that's like every time you hear people talk about world peace, this and that, and I'm just like, look, I would love world peace. I would love for the chocolates to flow, the river to flow with chocolate, the kids to have good gumdrop smiles and all that bullshit. But there's only one thing that's going to bring about that, and that would be an aggressive.
What were you going to say?
No, not that. No, I was going to say.
Was that too far? Did I go too far? Is it too soon? Is it still too soon?
It was touching cotton there. You're touching cotton with that one.
Anyway, what's one thing?
An aggressive alien invasion. That would be the only thing that would bring about world peace. Because
sure Texas is experiencing that at this moment.
Yeah, well, I guess I meant extraterrestrial.
Affect the world.
Yeah, no, I got you. It's going to take something. It's going to take something to really shake people to their core, and I think it's on the way. I mean, it's inevitable.
Oh, it is.
And that's something I've told people before. I'm like, every great civilization has failed. Every single one of them. Babylonians, Egyptians, Mesopotamia, Russia, every civilization has failed. And the United States has only been around for 200 something years.
Right.
I mean, we there's some shit going to wind up, and it's just a matter of time. It's inevitable,
Yeah.
And it's
sad. But there's a big difference between those falls of civilization and this fall. And this fall is that we all have firearms, whereas the previous ones, that was not as ubiquitous, if at all.
Yeah. Well, but I guess, I mean, I'm not just baiting that part. I guess what I was just saying is that, again, going back to what I said earlier, there wasn't a person alive on 9/12 that wasn't ready to do something.
Right.
And it's going to take another major catastrophic event to get people out of their shells, to get people to wake up and see what's going on. And
I would not be
another thing that I
surprised if
tell
that's
people all the time is that if you've never left this country, you have no fucking idea how good you got it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
You have no fucking idea. You think you're poor, but if you were just born in this nation, you're in the top 1% of the world.
Oh yeah.
Even our poor people are better than most of their rich people.
Oh yeah.
I remember. Do you remember when we were at the what was it, International Chow Hall in Kandahar? And
on the far side of.
When we left the Chow Hall that one time, might have been that time after I got pulled over. We left the Chow Hall that one time, and I remember getting into it with the MP. Not really getting into it, but I remember telling him, he was like, you got to recycle your shit. Remember they had the trash cans set up. One was for your cans, one was for your plates and all that. And I just remember getting pissed off because we were outside the wire every fucking day running missions. These guys never left the base. And to them, they were like, you guys got to recycle. You got to do your part. And the only thing I was thinking was, how many fucking piles of trash did we pass on the way in here? They would pick that shit up and take it outside the base and dump it on the fucking side of the road, and we would drive right by it. And so I'm
Yeah.
sitting here going, do you guys know what the fuck is going on outside here?
Mhm.
You're wanting us to recycle. These motherfuckers are picking it up and taking it over there and dumping it on the side of the fucking road.
They're like, thanks for sorting the types
Yeah,
of
and
piles
going-
are going to be
I
now.
mean, it was just like mind-boggling to me.
And getting
We
paid
were
a lot
having this
to do it.
discussion.
Yeah.
And you know, and every one of the fucking liberals on that base were patting themselves on the back for getting something done.
Well, and they're
And
doing the
that's
same
kind
thing
of
in
the way I
America.
see some of this other shit going on. You know, when people say, oh, well, look how persecuted we are and all this shit. And I'm like, you have a very narrow fucking view of the world.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure that in your realm, in your little fucking world, you think that's a big deal. But trust me when I say that this ain't a big fucking deal.
Right.
First world problems, right? I
Yeah,
remember
big
people
time.
saying how horrible it was. When I came home, I had finished my master's degree in when we were deployed. And I came home and I thought, I want to finish my doctorate.
Mhm.
So I enrolled in a PhD program and I began doing my PhD studies for my doctorate. And I thought that was what I wanted to do, is I wanted to sit in an office and I wanted to listen to people and I wanted to help them, because that had been a very profound thing in my life. And I took a job as a counselor and I made it for 4 days.
Yep. I was going to
Remember
joke
that?
about it.
You
I
remember
was going to
that?
joke about it, but
Yeah.
I was like, that couldn't have lasted long.
Yeah, it was 4 days and I couldn't deal with it. And I remember sitting there thinking, that's really that's what you're here for? Like, because your husband doesn't talk to you enough? Because your kids spilt milk on the floor and you don't know how to process it? I mean, we're over here getting fucking shot at, getting blown up, watching friends die, taking lives, doing all this shit. And you're fucking complaining because you're a week late on your mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Or you didn't have enough money to get the fucking fast pass at Disney or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, first world problems, man. I think when you've walked in that life, like, it changes your perspective. And we all know that because, you know, we all have problems stemming from it. But I mean, like, it just changes and reshapes your entire worldview, man. The shit that would have bothered me 20 years ago, I don't give a fuck about. You know, and one of the things I always tell people is, if I'm not fucking you or feeding you, I don't give a damn about your opinion. If you're not
Right,
in my bed or at my table, I don't give a fuck what you think. And I literally don't. You know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I don't.
I have a hypothesis, and maybe you can chime in on this, Booger, or tell me if I'm kind of on to something with your education, Looney. And that's I've noticed that people who either grew up having to survive, kind of like the destitute Africans types, or people who grew up fine but then were put into a scenario where they had to survive, like we were. They have a different appreciation for what is something to be focused on, what's important. But if you grow up your entire life, being nurtured and taken care for in America, then what you're focused on is just your feelings. Not even the logic. You don't think about the logic behind the feelings. You just think about the feelings. Well, I don't feel this way. I don't feel that. And that's why we're seeing so much divorce, so much confusion, people who are gravitating to, I just want to be, either a TikTok star, or I want to feel special too, I want a trophy. Like, all these problems come back to the success that is America almost being its own downfall in a way.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to jump in there, Boog. I know you were just about to say something because we hit it at the same time. But one thing I always say is, you can't know hot if you don't know cold. The only way we measure cold is because we understand the opposite. You get what I'm saying? It's a spectrum.
Sure.
I get that. But we only understand pain because we understand pleasure. Otherwise, what would we compare it to? So if you've never experienced real hunger, then you don't know what hunger is. You know what I mean? And like, so I had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I was talking, I'm going to get tested for celiac disease. And I know you and I've talked about my intolerance for carbohydrates, but it's more grains. And every time I eat grains, bread, something like that, like my hands swell up the next morning to where I can hardly close them. Like I'll gain 8-9 pounds by eating a fucking sandwich overnight.
Right.
It's just terrible. And so this guy was talking with me the other day on one of my boards. He says, what do you mean you don't eat carbs? You have to eat carbs. You can't survive without carbs. I'm like, explain that. Like I've done like water fasts, like 10-day water fast with no intake whatsoever. And I was still functioning, going to work and going to the gym every day. Like I don't understand what you mean. Like you can't live on carbohydrates. What about the carnivore diets? But I don't know, man. It's just crazy to me. What were you going to say, Boog?
No, I don't even remember. My dog started barking.
That's why we keep him in the
squirrel. Yeah.
That and for the awesome lighting effects of his fire that he's obviously sitting by.
I think Dale was finishing up something about the cause and effect, and I was talking about hot and cold.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of piggyback with what he was saying. It's, he was talking about kind of, the participation, everybody gets a trophy, and it's what these kids are fed and their access, so they see these TikTok stars, or what they perceive are TikTok stars and all of that. And, it just creates this, everybody, can go and do that, which, I mean, they can, but then it's like, then I have to go and do this exact same thing. I don't even know exactly where I was going with it, but yeah.
Something I told my boys, my youngest son was, he was playing football at high school, and, he's like 6'4", 200 something pounds. He's big as hell. 16 years old. So everybody keeps bugging him to play football. And so he started playing football where he breaks his leg. So he gets a plate and gets some screws and, misses the whole season. So he tells me, he's like, I don't want to go to practice anymore. I said, why not? He said, because I can't play. Like, I'm going to be standing on the sideline in 100-degree weather while these guys practice, and I'm not going to get in the whole year. And I was like, okay, but what do you want to do? And he's like, well, I just want to go to school. And so he's like, but I don't want you to be disappointed, in me not wanting to play sports. And so I'm like, do you know how many NBA stars there are? Let's just say there's 300. Do you know how many kids wake up in the morning wishing they were NBA stars? A lot fucking more than 300. The odds of you becoming a professional athlete are very, very minuscule. The odds of you becoming a successful full-time professional athlete that generates enough income to retire on and live comfortably is even smaller, because most of those guys aren't making $20 million a year. You know what I mean? I know
that they don't have a savings.
Goddamn pro football players making 40 grand. You know what I mean? They're just that's the way it is. And the lifespan of a pro ball player is like what, 4 years or something? Yeah. So I mean, like, I'd much rather you become a doctor than a football player.
Yeah. Yeah. If they make it 10 years, that's
I'm okay.
Yeah. No. That's the thing. Like, there's a lot of things to be disappointed in as far as like, real important stuff, but as to whether or not your kid's going to be a professional athlete, it's like, if my kid wanted to, and, we put everything at it and they didn't make it, okay, then you can be a little disappointed. Like, not you, the parent, but, the kid, the person who's put the skin in the game, they can be disappointed. But outside of that, it's like, hey, man, I mean, at least, you put something into it, and it created a sense of discipline, a sense of team unity. I mean, there's important things to take away from it that they'll take with them through the rest of their life.
Yeah.
My niece, she was like a nationally ranked gymnast, and it was like her 9th or 10th grade year. And I mean, it consumed every bit of her, waking being, doing ballet, 'cause she was a rhythmic gymnast. So she would do ballet classes, she would do all of her gymnastic classes, the competitions, all of that. And she went to her dad and she was, like, I just don't want to do it anymore. A lot of parents at that level would be like, you have to. And he's like, well, explain to me why you don't want to. And she laid it out. And he was like, that's logical, like if you want to move on, let's move on then. And so,
Yeah, that's the way it's with my kids too. Is like, I'm not like, you explain it to me.
Yeah,
well, it's probably better that she moved on, because I'm about to take over the female dance routine specialist.
You know what? You can't steal my shit. Not while I'm sitting here.
No, you're going into MMA, motherfucker. Yeah, I have no interest in fighting your top spot for.
Well, maybe I'll do MMA and dancing. I'm a pretty goddamn good dancer.
You look like you're pretty light on your feet.
I am light on my feet, actually. You know what is funny? All joking aside, Dale could vouch for this. I'm 295 pounds. I can still kick you in the head.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
And there are very few people that see that and aren't blown away. Like, what the fuck?
Well, it's because most people sacrifice their mobility for bulk, and you didn't.
Oh no, I have no mobility up top, but I can still kick. I remember being
still mobility.
Being like 16, 17 years old, and we would do competitions and stuff. And one of the things we would do is like hold a 12 by 12 1-inch board above your head and do a front kick and break it while it's held above your own head. Break it with a front kick. I mean, I could do split sideways or front to back. You know what I mean? Back then, it didn't matter. And so a lot of that mobility, it's come from that. Now, my upper body, no. I literally, that's the range of motion that I have. Like, by the time my arm and my chest meet, like I literally, that's it. I haven't seen my back in 10 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I imagine that, getting behind you and scrubbing your back in the shower. Oh, wait, I'm off on a different tangent.
You want me to join SEAL teams, aren't you?
Apparently.
You want me to put a trident on my purse?
Howdy, sailor.
No, so
I'm just gonna put it in your tramp stamp.
I got this fucking body hair, on my back and shit. And so I've been trying to, my wife puts an air on my back when I go home. But I thought, well, I can do it myself if I can get the right tool, right? So I go buy this goddamn applicator thing with a brush on one end and all this shit. It's on a fucking 2-foot pole. And so I'm lathering this bitch up with this air, right? And I'm still like trying to goddamn get back in here on this shit, and I'm like, I can't even use that motherfucker to get in there on it.
So you've just got like where it's dripped down your back, like little patchy areas that have no more hair.
It's the hairy matrix.
Yeah. How did you do that? That's so cool.
Abstract art. You should charge like hundreds for people to come and view
mesmerized in art galleries.
I'll tell you this, don't use that shit on your bunghole.
You can do a different display every 30 days.
I know, red is back out like a billboard.
That's what the art people call it.
Apparently, if you put it on with a paintbrush, some of it will actually get inside you. Just saying.
Inside.
Doesn't everybody use a paintbruch?
I'm just curious what you do with your paintbrushes to get it inside.
I mean, there's so many questions. I don't know if I want to.
You got to dab it.
Oh, he's going Bob Ross with this shit.
I'm just going to put a happy little tree right here.
That is definitely not a happy tree.
It looks angry.
Depends on whether you got a trident or not.
She's going, are you fucking kidding me? You couldn't paint me next to the creek?
Shit, I'm lost in the forest with Bigfoot over there.
Yeah, there you go. Did we get anything accomplished here?
Well, we found out you paint happy trees on your bunghole.
Now he wants to join in. Now he wants to join in the conversation. Booker said 3 words all night. He said, I tried to. You motherfuckers wouldn't shut up.
He's like,
The booty
well, the
holes.
dragon with the white face kept, speaking to me, and I just kept wondering what the fuck he was saying.
What's going on?
Oh shit. Oh man.
Yeah, me
Well,
too.
fellas,
I should probably get going. I got some Chinese food waiting for me inside.
Nice.
yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Be careful on your trip, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep. Safe travels to you. I'll see you guys on the flip side of Texas.
Roger. Y'all have a good night.
See y'all
Like
later.